Okay, take it away. Okay, this week's Shiur, last day of Hanukkah, 5775, on the holy apple. There's 3 apples in the world. There's the holy apple, there's the big apple, and the mini apple. We're here in the holy apple here today. Today's a very, very important, very monumental day. It's the last day of Hanukkah, Zot Hanukkah. And in many, many books, it is said that just like all the 7 days, all the holiness combined in 7 days of Sukkot comes together on the last day of Sukkot, which is, of course, Shmini Atzeret or Simchat Torah. Same thing is true. We take all the spirituality, we take all the holiness that was in the 7 days of Hanukkah, we put them all into one day. That is today. This is a very, very monumental day. Not only that, it is said, and we'll prove it, it is said that the decree, when a person goes before God on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we used to think that the last day, when can you get your last, if you haven't been sealed for a good year, when's the last opportunity? We thought maybe Yom Kippur, but that's not so. We know that it's Hoshana Rabbah, which is the last day of Sukkot. So we see that it's not really so either, because the last day is the next day is Shmini Atzeret or Simchat Torah after Musaf, after the Musaf prayers. But it's also not really so. Really, the final decree handed by Hashem is given to the Jewish people today on Zot Chanukah. This is the last opportunity. This is the last chance. Sometimes a father or a mother, they tell us, listen, if you do this, we're going to give you punishment. And he does it. But they give him another chance and another chance. Hashem is extremely merciful, as we know. So therefore, He gives us Rosh Hashanah. If that's not enough, He gives us Yom Kippur. If that's not enough, He gives us the last day of Sukkot, which is Hoshana Rabbah. If that's not enough, take another 12 hours until Simchat Torah, Musaf, midday. If that's not enough, Zot Chanukah. This is the last opportunity to get our foot in the door of life. So therefore, today, last night, very, very important day in all of our lives, also the Jewish people. Okay. Before we want to start, I have to make Avram's day. Every year, for the last couple of years, Avram comes up with the same question about, but those Maccabees, they were not weak. Oh my God. Avram, we've heard this one before. It's the same old song. Okay, we have Kedushat Levi. Avram, you're going to enjoy this one. Put on a seatbelt, Avram. You're going to enjoy this one. Kedushat Levi, who was that? Rav Levi Yitzchak Mibarditchev. He has an unbelievable, very, very deep commentary on the Torah, and he also has about 10 pages on Hanukkah. Unbelievable stuff. It's worthwhile to get it just for this. Okay, here's what he tells us. He tells us the weakness. What does it mean when the Anshe Knesset Agdolah, when they said, or actually it's not Anshe Knesset Agdolah, who wrote Al Anisim? It was Yochanan. Yochanan. Why? If you count the number of words that are in the prayer of Al Anisim, and you do the numerical value of Yochanan's name, you will see it comes out to the exact same. The numerical value of Yochanan equals the amount of words in Al Anisim, from Al Anisim until the bottom. Okay? So, what was behind his saying, what has bothered Abraham has not slept for about 4 or 5 years. We try to calm him down every year with another book, but this year we're going to try again with the Kedushat HaLevi. Okay, here's what he says. He says, "Benusachat tfilat Chanukah masarta giborim biyad chashim." We see in the prayer that it says that God gave the weak, the Jewish people who were weak, they gave us the Greeks who were very, very powerful. So what does he say? What does it mean to be weak? To mean weak, it means that your thought process is becoming, you're not certain. You're going back and forth whether you think that you're going to win or lose. Once again, his first commentary what the word chalash, what the word weak means, doesn't mean that a person is physically weak. It means the Torah many times uses the term weak to show us that a person is not in a calm state of mind. He's his thoughts, he's not sure what's the outcome of this battle is going to be between the Greeks and the Jewish people. And he's not comfortable with that thoughts. Those thoughts are bothering him. Are we going to lose? Are we going to win? Okay, that's what he writes here. Which means, what is the destiny? What is going to be the outcome, the destiny? And he brings a few verses. He brings, for example, a Gemara in the tractate of Shabbat on page 148, Kemach. And then it shows us, Hayu mitilim chalshin. That many times when people were not certain what to do, they would kind of roll a dice, because they're not sure exactly which way to turn, right or left. So the Talmud uses the expression chalash, weak, when a person's not sure what to do, and therefore they're looking for some advice, or they're looking for the outcome, sign of what's going to come. So that's number one. It doesn't mean they were physically weak, because, see, what's bothering Avram and other people is that if we look in Yosifun, we'll see that it seems like they were very, very strong, not very weak. So that's what's bothering him. So we see here that Rav Levi Yitzchak Mibarditchev takes this in consideration and saying it has nothing to do with physical strength. It has to do with mind. Where are we in our mind? Are we going to win? Are we going to lose? We're worried. We're perturbed.
Like Kalev.
What?
Like Kalev, they're hesitant.
Hesitant. Okay, now, next, here's an even more beautiful. This is, okay, we're going to go here for all the dice here, we're going here for the jackpot here. Listen what he says. Lechora halo hayu giborim gdolim chashmonayu vanav. Oh, Avram, you've reached the level of Rav Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev. He asked the same question. It says in Yosifun that they were very strong. Ela kavana de'ayu kol kach tzadikim de'lo talu nitzchonam mechamat gvuratam rak me'et Hashem hayta zot. What does it mean that they were weak? They were very strong. But how did they look at themselves? And this is all of the Torah on one leg. If you want to learn the Torah on one leg, if you want to understand what needs to be fixed, why was the state of Israel created? We have it here in these few words. The problem is not fighting. That's not the problem. There's a mitzvah for a Jew to get up and defend himself. There's no doubt about that. There's a mitzvah to go out and fight for Eretz Yisrael and other issues. That is not a question. What is the problem here? The problem and the solution to bringing the Messiah, the problem and the solution is, who are we going to give credit to? Are we going to become haughty? Are we going to become, oh, wow, the Israelis, we're the invincibles, we could do anything, we're Tzahal, we are the strongest army. Are we going to do that? Or are we going to say, you know what? The reason why we're victorious is only because God gives us the victory. We ourselves are nobodies. We put our heads down and we give all credit to God. That's the idea here. That's why he says they were righteous. So this is the problem of the state of Israel, because we're always saying it's kochi ve'otzim yadi. It's us. And this is the problem, and that's the solution. If we would fight and destroy our enemies and say it's all to the credit and merit of Hashem. We are nobodies. We are weak people. It's Hashem. Ki hu levado. He is the only one. As we say every morning in our prayers. Oseh milchamot. What does that mean? Jews never fought? I don't understand what's going on. We say every morning and we just go by it like nothing's happening. Ki hu levado. He is the only one by himself. Oseh milchamot. What's the? Of course, the Jewish people have fought many, many battles, many, many wars. We're on Hanukkah. The Jews fought. But what is the understanding? The understanding is ki hu levado. It's not me. It's not my strength. It's Hashem. Hashem gives me eyes. Hashem gives me ears. Hashem gives me strength. He gives me health. It's not me. How many people have died? There's a good joke. It's not such a joke. How many people have died jogging? How many people died jogging? That's a great way to go. Jim Fox, the famous runner. When he was running, he died.
Jim Fix.
Fix. Okay, so he was running.
He was his bearer of weapons. Rabbi Akiva.
Good point.
He thought he was the Mashiach.
Good point. Why did he fall?
Of being over arrogant.
Avram, you're catching on.
He was strong in the eyes of everyone. His army.
You're catching on. His downfall is our downfall. His downfall is our downfall. Who does a person give the credits to? At the end of the movie, there's the credits. The credits come on the screen, and we have to know who we give the credits to. Oh, I'm such a smart guy. Unkelus, on the verse that says, Ki hu anoten lecha chayil. On the verse in Dvarim that says, Ki hu anoten lecha koach lasot chayil. It's God that has given us the strength to be victorious. What does Unkelus say? An unbelievable concept. He writes there that even the idea that you had, all of a sudden a guy has an unbelievable idea, or a girl has an unbelievable idea. Where did that idea come from? Whoa, man, I'm some smart cookie. No, you're not some smart cookie. Atachonen la'adam dat. Who? That's why we open up the Amidah. We give out the truth. It's you, Hashem, that has given us Chokhmah binadat. You have given us knowledge. He goes on. V'zeu ma'amaram chalashim. This is what it means by weak. Shayu chalashim b'da'atam she'yadu she'mechamatam lo yinatzchu. They knew that if it was up to them, up to their strength, they had no chance to be victorious. Why did they win? Rak mechamat ezer Hashem. It was only because of God's help. V'inei b'chol ha'gulot lo hayu pulot Yisrael rak HaKadosh Baruch Hu be'atzmo nitzeach v'yichni'a et haklipot bli pulot Yisrael. Listen to this concept, unbelievable. The Rav Yitzchak Mibarditchev, he's telling us, we see usually, this is a really unusual holiday. If you look at Hanukkah, man, it is one unusual holiday. There is no mitzvah to eat on Hanukkah. No mitzvah to eat. Okay? What's going on over here? How about Purim? Mitzvah to drink. Mitzvah to eat. Sukkot. Pesach. Shavuot. When you have a happy day, you have to be happy, you have to drink wine, you have to eat meat. That's happiness in the Torah, that's the halacha. And here comes this Hanukkah. It's this oddball. It's this it's exception to the rule. What's going on exactly with this holiday? So listen to what the Rav Yitzchak says. He says that in all the other, if we look in the other redemptions of the Jewish people, we will see that who was moving everything. It was clear, like in Egypt, there were 10 plagues. Moshe's name doesn't even appear. It only appears one time when we sit together with our families and read the Haggadah of Pesach on Passover. That Moshe, he appears once, and we thought he's the big mover there, right? Moshe and his brother Aaron, they're the movers. No, they're not mentioned once. Why? Don't be mistaken. The power that gave us the victory is not Moshe, as in not Aaron. That's why they're not mentioned. Don't make the mistake. It's all Hashem Yitbarach. It's all from God. So here's what he says. In all the previous redemptions, we see that it was God. It was very, very clear that it was God that moved all the cards around. Onam begulat Chashmonai uvanav hayapula misrael de'asu milchama. Here we have an exception to the rule. Folks, put on a seatbelt for it because we're going on a right curve here. Listen to what he says. Here it was an exception to the rule because we went out and fought a physical battle. Hunisayon gadol la'amin shelo poel yado garam rak mito baruch hu ozer amiti. Unbelievable. He says there is a tremendous test when a person goes out. What do you do for a living, Avram? What do you do for a living? I don't do anything for a living. I don't do anything for a living. In Rosh Hashanah, Hashem decides what I'm going to make from Tishrei to Tishrei except for Tishrei. From the month of Tishrei till Tishrei except for a few. Okay? Except for Tishrei, which is Talmud Torah, if I'm going to put money to send my kid to a school. I have friends that they send their kids to public schools. In order to save money, they send their kids to public schools. Now, it is true that religious schools are expensive. But to sell your kid down the tube because of some money, sell your house, sell your car or something. But don't sell your kids. So Talmud Torah, Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the month, these are things that do not come under the yearly expenses. The more you put out, the more you receive in return. You go to Shabbat, there's stories about the holy Rav Pinkus, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who was killed in a car accident. Him, his wife, and his daughter. He was originally actually from the States, Rav Pinkus, Rav Shimshon Pinkus. He has a book, Sefer, out on every single holiday. Unbelievable Talmid Chacham. In our times, he had Mishalim, he had, what do they call, parables. Nobody came close to him giving everything that he taught in the Torah. He brought everything down to a mashal. It was unbelievable. Anyways, he would take his students on a Friday. He would take his students, and it was a class. But it wasn't in the classroom. It wasn't in the yeshiva. It was a classroom. He would take his students, and he said, "Listen, we're going into the supermarket here, and Shabbat is coming up in a few hours, and I want you whatever you want for Shabbat. The price does not matter." Every week he would go in this store, tremendous belief in what the Torah says, and he says, everything is whatever you better be careful of every cent you're putting out, except for 4 issues. And one of them, of course, is Shabbat. So therefore, he would show them not in the classroom, but he would take them to a store and he says, I'm buying it. It's on my bill here. Okay, so once again here, it's an unbelievable test here. The test is going to be, who do we give the credits at the end of the movie to? Do we give it to ourselves, Kochi v'otzem yadi, or do we give it to God? That was the big test here. V'lezet tzorichim istaklut b'boreh baruch hu shemechmat istaklutam be'adon kol ro'eh she'akol hu mi'ito she'al yidei ken zacha lanes hahu umadlikim nerot chanukah. Dinerhu or remez listaklut. Unbelievable. What is the mitzvah of Hanukkah? Rav Levi Yitzchak, he's not holding any punches today. He's saying, what is the mitzvah? What do we do? There's a mitzvah to look at the candles. If you ever seen, after you light candles, most people don't know this, but there's a lot of things that a person should say during the first half hour at least of the candles being lit. most of us just say Ma'os Tzur and then we go home, or we go back inside the house or outside. But that's not so, because the great Rabbanim gave us psalms to say, all kinds of prayers to say, that take approximately a half hour after. Why? Because there's a mitzvah to look at the candles for at least a half hour. Some of the great Rabbanim, they would look for hours at the candles. What do you want to get from that? Because a candle doesn't represent just a candle. Well, it's pretty. No, it means, in the Torah terminology, it means understanding. When it says that Adam and Eve, they saw light from one side of the world to the other. What do you mean they saw a light? It means that they understood what the world was all about. They understood the foundations of the world. The Torah uses the expression light, which is understanding. A person has to, inner respect, has to go deep inside to think about his life, what he's doing. So when we light candles on Shabbat, it's not just that I'm lighting candles. I'm looking at those candles during Shabbat. Why? Because I'm trying to understand my life. Am I living my life? I'm looking at those candles and I'm looking into myself and seeing if I'm going on the right direction here. The Shabbat is a time out on the court. When do you call a time out on the court? When the game is not going your way. You call that time out, baby. You call that time out. When the game is not going your way. So Shabbat comes every week and calls a time out. Hold on a second. Maybe during the week we're not doing what we're supposed to do. So Shabbat gives us that inner reflection, that we reflect within ourselves to see where we're holding. So that's what the idea is about. Now this is unbelievable. I happen to be, let's say a person's in Ophir prison. And they don't allow, in Ophir prison, they don't allow you to light candles on Hanukkah. So I look out my window in Ophir prison and I see Beit El from the window, and I see somebody's little menorah in the window. Here is an unbelievable halacha that I say, if it's the first day, I say 2 blessings. Where in the world? Hey, everybody, you see my tefillin? Okay, I want every one of you to say a blessing on the fact that you see my tefillin. Oh man, do you see that mezuzah over there? I want you to say a bracha. No. All of a sudden, we never even thought about this, but the whole mitzvah of Hanukkah is lir'otam bilvad, is looking. There's in a mitzvah, no. There's a mitzvah. For example, if you look at and you see the beach, after a month you haven't seen the Mediterranean, you say a bracha. Say, okay, but a bracha on a mitzvah? I didn't do anything. I didn't light the candles. I'm just looking at them, because the whole Torah behind Hanukkah is person looking. We are looking in ourselves. So that's what he's saying here. It's an unbelievable Torah. Why did Hashem do the miracle of the candles? Now this is also what the Maharal says. This is unbelievable Torah. In order that the Jewish people should not become haughty after the victories in the war, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends this miracle called the candles. And what's the idea? The idea was to teach the Jewish people a tremendous lesson. That just as you have no hand in these candles, you have no hand in the candles going for 8 days, you had no hand either in the victories over in the war. That's what Rav Levi Yitzchak says. That's what the Maharal says. And that's why, of course, the reason why we say Hallel, of course the reason why we celebrate Hanukkah is because the victory in the war. But the victories in wars are things that are extremely, extremely dangerous. Because as we see, we won the 6-day war. But so far, we spent a lot of years losing after that. we're spending a lot of time losing because we don't get the point. The point is, if we would give credit to the credit where the credit is due, we would not have been suffering all these losses till this very day. So, once again, get this idea clear. Rav Levi Yitzchak brings it down, the Maharal brings it down. That, of course, the most important thing in Hanukkah is the victory, is the military victory. But because there's such a danger in a military victory that people will say it was us, it's because we're smart, because we outsmarted and outwitted everybody else. Those dumb Gentiles, those dumb Greeks are a bunch of idiots, and that's why we beat them. Just like the Arabs are a bunch of dumb Arabs. They're a bunch of idiots. So therefore, we're smarter than they are. We have a high-tech, they have the low-tech army. We're the high-tech army. Oh wow, we have the brains. We. I. All, okay, it's all written with kochi ve'otzem yadi. So therefore, the Maharal and Rav Levi Yitzchak are saying an unbelievable Torah here. The candles come to teach us, just like you had no hand in this miracle. Okay, also the victory over the Greeks was the same miracle. It was HaKadosh Baruch Hu that was pulling the strings. We're just puppets. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is moving us up, down. He's putting us to the right, left. He's putting us in the right place at the right time. Exactly. Whoa, I was just there. Wow, I was just there. Okay, so let's go on. Uvezeh mituratz, and then the Rav Yitzchak summarizes the following. The Taz has a question. Lama enosim zecher latzalat nefashot? Why don't we have Hanukkah? Is all about, it's become all about candles. But what about Hanukkah? Because the Jewish people were saved. If I'm not mistaken, one of the first battles that the Greeks had against the Jewish people, 40,000 people were killed. 40,000 Jews were killed. Unbelievable. In all the wars in Israel since 1948, 23,000 Jews have been killed. Think about it. In one battle, the first battle, 40,000 Jews fell. Almost double the amount that we've had in 67 years. Okay, so the Taz says, why don't we have more of a mention of the physical battle victory? And then Rav Levi Yitzchak says the following: Lefi ma shekatavni mituratz de'anerotu zecher gam ken latzalat nefashot shal yidei istaklut yedu sheyad Elokim asta latzil et nafsham velo azar lahem gvuratam. Listen now, guys, I have to give you credit. Sitting here, you haven't fallen out off your chairs. You haven't flown through the windows, through the ceiling here. Unbelievable. Rav Levi Yitzchak, he just puts it on the table. He says the candles are the same thing. When you look at the candles, you understand everything. You understand the victory also. Hanukkah is all about two things. It's about the candles and it's about the victory. And when you look at the candles, you understand the victory. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu did a tremendous victory. And that's why in the prayer that Yochanan made in our Amidah, what does it say there? Rafta et rivam, danta et dinam. Hey, how about us? Hey, I'm here. Danta et dinam, nakamta et nigmatam. What about me, guy? Hey, remember me? I didn't sleep all night. I haven't slept for a week because I've been in the trenches there in the battle. Hey, what about me? Rafta et rivam. What about us? No, you're not mentioned. You're not mentioned. You're not mentioned at all, because the candles come to teach us both those lessons. When we look, unfortunately today, when we look at the candles, Hanukkah has become the holiday of the candles, which means that the candle corporations, they're doing a good business on us. Okay? But that's not really what Hanukkah is all about. Hanukkah is about candles, of course, but more so, it's about the victory. And that victory, because of the danger of a person thinking that it was his strength, because he's strong, because he's wise, and he's keen, and the opposition are a bunch of idiots, therefore there's a danger. And therefore that's why we stress the miracle of the candles, which also can come to teach us about the miracles of the battles. So that was for Avraham this year. And I'm sure, Avraham, you're going to come next year. We'll try to get another book next year. Every year you come back. Okay, let's move on here. There's a famous machloket between Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai. This is a tremendous lesson in life. This is a tremendous lesson in life for us, for our kids, for anybody we know. Listen to this. What's going on behind the machloket, behind the dispute between Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai? We know that Beit Hillel says when you want to light candles, you go 1 first day, 2, 3, and you keep on going up. Why? Because there's a concept in Judaism. The concept Judaism, there's a famous expression if you look on the net, you'll see a lot of times when a person passes away, it says R.I.P. Okay, and what's R.I.P.? Rip. What does rip mean? Rest in peace. Right? So the Gentiles, they have this thing, rest in peace. Now, this is good for a Gentile because he's really going to be resting. But for a Jew, there's no such concept as R.I.P. Because it says in the Torah, it says that tzaddikim, they have no rest. Not in this world and not in the next world. Shene'amar, vayelchu michayil el chayil. It says that a Jew goes from chayil to chayil. There's no such thing. We've said in the past, the Gra writes, in Judaism there is no neutral. It might be in your car there's neutral, but in Judaism, in the Torah, there's no neutral. Either you're going up, Jack, or you're going down. There's no neutral about it. So we know the concept is that you go up in holiness. Now, Beit Shammai is really bizarre. What does he do? He goes 8 the first night, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? Very interesting. What's he going on? Now, first of all, it's an important lesson. If you remember, we talked about a couple of weeks ago that the connection or disconnection between Sukkot and the Gentiles. This past year, we talked about a certain big rabbi. When I say big rabbi, we're talking about big in different dimensions, where he invited, either that was his sukkah or they met up with these Gentiles in some other sukkah, and he said the blessing for them, and he was showing them how to do it. Very, very. Okay, Hanukkah, Sukkot, we talked about the parade. They close up all the streets in Jerusalem, and the Gentiles parade around. So it seems like the holiday which connects us with the Gentile world is this Sukkot. As we know, 70 bulls are brought in, or reminiscing of the 70 nations. So it seems like there's this big connection going on. We showed the opposite. There's a big disconnection going down. So where do we see it in Hanukkah? We see it that it says in the Gemara on the 21st page, second side, it says, what's the reason behind Beit Shammai going 8, 7, 6, 5? Why is he going down? Beit Shammai says we learn Hanukkah from Sukkot. We learned Hanukkah from Sukkot. Sukkot is 8 days. Hanukkah is 8 days. Sukkot we say a complete Hallel. On Hanukkah we say a complete Hallel. On Hanukkah, on Sukkot, we have the only time we see that there's a concept of Hadar. We have to take pre-Etz Hadar, a beautiful citrus fruit. Where do we see that? Hanukkah, the only holiday where we see Mehadrin, Mina Mehadrin, Hidur, beauty, double over beauty. So Beit Shammai is tapping in here with the holiday of Sukkot. He's tapping in here big time. And what is his point? His point is an unbelievable point. His point is the following. That we see that the downfall of the Gentiles will come when? When do the Gentiles finally fall? They fall on Sukkot. During the battle of the Jewish people against the 70 nations called Gog Umagog. Gog Umagog. That is when the Gentiles will finally fall. And that's why on Sukkot we read in the prophets, we talk about their downfall. And we spoke about it. That's why if the Gentiles after the downfall, if they will not come up to recognize God, then they're going to be in trouble. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will destroy them. but they're going to come up only after they're destroyed. Those that are left. So here, Beit Shammai is saying an unbelievable Torah. Beit Shammai is saying an unbelievable Torah. If we look to find the source of the Greeks, let's go back into the portion of the week of Noach. It says the following. It says that Noach had 3 sons, Shem, Cham, Yafet. We come, of course, Semites. Shem, Semites. We come from Shem. But the Greeks, they come from Yefet. Now let's see who else comes from Yefet. Listen to this. Hold on here. It says here, Bnei Yefet. Listen closely. Bnei Yefet. Gomer uMagog. There's that Magog guy who's going to be destroyed. Gog uMagog. They're going to be destroyed on Sukkot in the final days of the universe. Umadai v'Yavan. Once again, we see that descendants that came out of Yefet were Yavan and also Magog. Those two. So what is Beit Shammai saying? He's giving unbelievable Torah here. He's saying, I look to Sukkot. Sukkot is my compass. And Hanukkah nourishes itself, is taken itself from Sukkot. That's why it says in Sfat Emet, it says the following, that in the written law, there are 3 major holidays where we go up to the temple in Jerusalem. There's Sukkot, Shavuot, and Pesach. But each holiday, each biblical holiday, gives birth to a rabbinical holiday, which is similar. It nourishes itself from that. How does that work out? Very simple. The Sfat Emet writes on Hanukkah that if you look, we'll take Sukkot. As we said, Sukkot, 8 days. Hanukkah is an offshoot of Sukkot. Then we have Shavuot. How many days is Shavuot? 1 day. How many days is Purim? 1 day. What did we receive on Shavuot? The Torah. What did we re-accept on Purim? We re-accepted the Torah. On Shavuot, we received the Torah through coercion. Hashem uplifted, so to speak, a mountain and said, hey guys, you want the Torah or not? Man, if you say no, this is the end of you. I'm just going to put it on your head. So we didn't have a choice. We were coerced to receive the Torah. Only on Purim did the Jewish people receive the Torah with happiness and voluntarily. So we see the connection to Shavuot. Pesach is the time of redemption. Pesach is physical redemption from Egypt. We were slaves. The Sfat Emet says we will receive a holiday on Tisha B'Av. As we know, Tisha B'Av, the Messiah was born. That's why in the midday we put back the holy parochet on back on the ark. We put it back, and also we sit on chairs at midday. Why? And also we don't say Tachanun, because it's a happy day. It says in Eicha, in the book of Eicha, it says that the 9th day of Av is a happy day for the Jewish people. It will become a happy day. It will become the new Independence Day. It will become the new Independence Day. That's what the Sfat Emet says. So we have Pesach will be Tisha B'Av. Pesach will be the new holiday, which is going to be Tisha B'Av. It will be a holiday of tremendous joy. So listen, we're going to sum it up here. Beit Shammai says the following. I look at what happens on Sukkot, and I see that Sukkot bothers the Gentiles. The Sukkot should not make the Gentiles happy. It should bother them. Why? Because the Torah is teaching us that the power and the greatness of the Gentiles is continuously on a downturn. until they will totally be destroyed. When will that come? That will come on Sukkot. We said Hanukkah is connected to Sukkot. So Beit Shammai says we light the candles, 876, to show that Yavan, who precedes the fall of Magog, it's the same family. We have the beginning of the redemption is Hanukkah. That's when the Greeks fall. And we have the final redemption where the same family of the Greeks, which is Mr. Magog, which represents the 70 nations, that's where they're going to fall on Sukkot. So we have the beginning of the fall on Hanukkah, and the bottom line, the last of the fall is going to be on Sukkot, when the 70 nations led by Magog, Gog Magog, they're the leaders of it. But we have another important lesson here. Listen to what the commentators say. What does it really mean? What's really going on behind the machloket? We see the Gemara tells us on 21, second side, something very interesting. There were two great scholars that lived in Lebanon, in a place called Sidon, one of the cities of Lebanon. Echad asa kibeit Shammai, ve'echad asa kibeit Hillel. One of the great scholars, the way that he lit the candles in his house, he said, you know what? Let's make a deal here. Let's make a deal. You light in your house like Beit Hillel, and we'll light in our house like Beit Shammai. This way, we're covered on all bases. What does this mean? And nobody says anything bad about that. No one says bad about that. If you remember, there's a Gemara in Brachot that says that there's a dispute between Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai when you say Kriyat Shema at night. So Beit Shammai learns out that you have to say it lying down. Why? It says in the Torah when you lie down and when you get up. So at night you have to lie down. And Beit Hillel says, no. It's not talking about you have to lie down when you say Kriyat Shema. No, it's talking about when people begin to go to sleep. That's the time to say Kriyat Shema at night. When people get to sleep. So there was a scholar that he decided that he was going to be strict and he was going to lie down. And another scholar tells him that because you went according to Beit Shammai, which is not the law, you have endangered yourself what you did. You lie down on the ground, you could have been run over by, today there's, in Europe and in France, there's these drivers going by yelling Allah Akbar and then running over people, if you hear it 2 days ago. So he says, here we don't see anything. Why? Because here it's telling us that both directions are correct. What does that mean? Listen to this. This is a tremendous lesson of life. He says the following. He says there are two schools of thought for a person to act in his life. One is, even though we realize we are not on a high level, pretend that you are on a high level. Do things on a high level. I know people that study Kabbalah. They don't know a Chumash from a Gemara, but they study Kabbalah. Things that I have no idea what they're talking about. I have no idea what they're talking about. But they don't know the ABCs. Okay? They don't know the ABCs. Okay, so Beit Shammai says the way to go about life is always start at the top. Always aspire for greatness. Now, you want to start jogging, you want to work out? How many people do you know, when they want to work out, they buy the fancy, all the right, the Nike shoes, and they buy those shirts and the pants. I was about 2 years ago. I was in a bike ride around this area in Itamar. There was a bike ride, and I came in like regular clothes, but everybody there, I felt like, oh my God, like what an embarrassment. Everyone's there is in there, they have those bicycle pants and those bicycle shirts. And, here's Brother Yehuda coming out there in my pants, regular shirt. Wow, So what do people do? They buy the equipment. They buy all the top. And how many never ever use it? Beit Shammai says it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter. If you want to do something, you got to go for it. You got to go to the top. Buy all the equipment. Buy all the equipment. Bezrat Hashem, you'll wake up and you'll start using it. But you got to go to the top. You got to go to the top. What's the downside of going to the top? Okay, the downside is that a person could forget who he really is. He's doing things like the Rambam, but you're not the Rambam. We're doing things like the Rav Sadia Gaon, but we're not Rav Sadia Gaon. Okay, the problem is we'll lose hold of who we really are. That's the downside. But that's, Beit Shammai says, okay, always go for the top. Go out, start from the best, start from the top. Beit Hillel says no. In life, you go from level to level to level. One candle, when you pass 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the way to do it. What's the problem? What's the downside of that? The downside of that is if you have no aspirations, if you have no dream, very interesting. I once heard this from a Efi Eitan. He gave us a shiur on Shabbat. If those that remember him from the Knesset, from the army, and also he said a very interesting idea. If you notice, it says there's 3 words that are the same letters, just different order. There's lechem, bread. There's also fighting, lochem, and there's also chalom. And he says, if you don't have a dream, you don't have any fight. And that's why they say, there's an expression in the world, a person's fighting for his bread, or the rat race of the bread, because it's all part of one thing. So therefore, those 3 letters are talking about a dream. If you have a dream, you got to fight for the dream. And you got to fight for the dream. So the problem with Beit Hillel is that many times when we just continue going slowly up, we will never get anywhere. We will fall into laziness. We will fall into a mediocrism, parvness. That's the downside. So the Torah the Gemara here does not say anything bad about these 2 righteous people in Sidon, in Lebanon. It doesn't say any derogatory comment. Why? Because in our lives, there are times where we have to go like Beit Hillel, and there are times in our life where we have to go according to Beit Shammai. Because if we won't go according to Beit Shammai, we're never going to move here. And there are times where we have to go to Beit Hillel because we have to build something. And when you build something, you have to build block by block by block, 1 step at a time. If you go too fast, then you're just going to fall on your face. So therefore, the Torah gives both of these directions as both of them are kosher. It just depends on who we're dealing with. Sometimes we have 10 kids, 5 kids, it's good for them, the Beit Shammai. 5 of the other kids, Beit Hillel. In our lives, there might be years, there might be days where it's good for us to go according to Beit Hillel. There might be minutes that we have to go according to Beit Shammai. Both of them are acceptable. Both of them are the ways of the Torah. Free time.